Grimy stone, rusted steel, and the stench of blood. This castle in feudal era Japan rots in silence. But how did it become like this? And what are you doing here? You wake up in a camp you'd set up. You're in a forest surrounded by trees, yet everything is quiet. Too quiet. The trees and the ground look drained of energy, as if they were decomposing in place. There are no animals to be seen or heard, just a few bugs, here to feast on the smell of rot that's omnipresent in the air, and get stronger the closer you are to your goal. The land feels sick, almost as if it were under a heavy curse. You waver, you're scared. You don't know if you have the strength to do what needs to be done, but you don't have the luxury to give up. Not after everything, not after what he has done, he has to pay. You calm down and remind yourself why you're here. The country was in crisis. War had spread throughout the land. Disease and famine had led thousands to their demise, and at the center of it all were demons, who now walked the earth. You are a foot soldier, in service of your lord. You are the last line of defense, not only for your lord, but also your country. Until one day, deceived by a powerful demon, your lord led his army into an ambush. All perished except you. Against your wishes, your lord sacrificed his life to aid your escape from the battle. You promised yourself you'd track down the demon who betrayed your lord and end his life. You finally managed to find the demon's lair. You cannot back down now. You continue through the forest until you see flags with the family crest of a different lord. The demon must have made his home in the castle of a different lord he slayed. You finally reach a cave and you encounter it. A demon, a real one, scarier than anything you could have expected. It was feeding on summon when you came in. It must have retreated to digest. You take your chance and run as fast as you can out of the cave. The only equipment you have on you is your broken katana and the armor you wore on the day of the ambush. You have to focus on surviving and advancing. When you get out of the cave, you find a ransacked village. Everything looks abandoned and eroded, as if in the short time the demon was here, his presence alone was enough to wither all life around. You then perceive a silhouette next to a tree. You brace yourself to take down your foe. It turns out to be a village girl that managed to survive the attack of the demon, although not unharmed. She wishes to help you take him down, but cannot help you too much out of fear of angering the beast. She tells you that the demon lord is in the castle, and that you aren't the first to come for his head. Many souls venture here, desperate to seek out revenge for their lords, their lovers, or simply their honor. Continue to advance until you reach the castle. The Labyrinth of the Demon King is a recently released indie survival horror game set in feudal era Japan with a few supernatural twists. We're too used to seeing monsters like demons be humanized or made to be sympathetic or just straight up not be taken seriously more and more in fiction. Well, this game isn't like that. The demons in this game are really creepy and feel distinctly unhuman. Or for some demons that do come from a human origin, it is as if they lost their humanity but are trying to imitate the person they once were. It looks very uncanny. The intro of the video basically goes over the beginning of the game, but the true horror only starts once you enter the Demon King's castle. The inside looks like it's decomposing. The walls, the furniture, the doors, the shrines, everything has this grimy, rusty, bloody look to it. The walls are paper thin, and you can always hear the enemies on the other side of the wall, and even on the other side of the floor you're in. This keeps you on edge and makes you think that there's an enemy at every corner. And while we're on the topic of corners, one thing that this game does exceptionally well is that the enemies don't just charge at you all the time. Sometimes they hide in rooms, sometimes they hide around corners and ambush you. Sometimes they come directly from a blind spot, and always keep you guessing and on edge. The map design is confusing on purpose, with lots of blocked off doors and dead ends, and does a really good job disorienting you, so you become even more vulnerable to being sneaked up. The castle has multiple towers, and each tower has multiple floors with a boss that you have to defeat. And you might start to question if the game is even scary, right? I mean, beating enemies and bosses? If you can beat the monsters in combat, how do they stay scary? Well, there are multiple techniques the game uses to stay scary and unpredictable. First, you aren't always in combat. You are mostly running around trying to advance while knowing an enemy could appear at any moment. Second, the enemies hurt. A lot. So getting into a fight might send you back to your last save, and sometimes even worse, force you to use one of the limited healing items. Yes, healing items and currency and everything in this game is limited. Once you pick it up on the map, they don't respawn. And while some enemies have a chance to drop them, it is so low that you end up losing more health trying to farm them. The combat in this game is hard. Not only do the enemies surprise attack you and sneak up on you, they can feint their attacks, parry, counter, kick you, stun you, poison you, and make you bleed. And even when you have learned the enemy pattern completely, it is rare to come out unscathed from a confrontation. And as if the enemy difficulty and the limited nature of the healing items wasn't enough to keep you on edge, the whole castle is just so creepy. The place looks like an abandoned mess. There are poisonous giant bugs everywhere, even in crates, and the monster design is just disturbing. The game does the cinematic intro for every monster and boss, and they are really menacing, and all of the creatures look like they came straight out of a nightmare. But all of that is nothing. It's soothing even, compared to the sound design. The sound design in this game is why I made this video in the first place. It is for me what makes everything in this game so creepy. Every second you spend inside any part or floor of the castle, you hear a distorted breathing sound, as if the demon himself was breathing down your neck, reminding you that you were never alone. The rest of the sound design, such as the interaction sounds and all of the sounds of your steps, are perfectly made to keep your attention up. The sound of your steps, the screams you sometimes hear, the growling of the enemies, the inexplicable crying you hear from certain inaccessible rooms, the tense music and ambient sound that changes depending on where in the castle you are. Everything blends in together with the constant breathing to create one of the most terrifying ambiences I've ever seen in horror movie. As if the castle itself was alive and wanted you to meet the most gruesome end possible. On a side note, this is the first game that managed to weave together combat and horror successfully for me. The combat feels smooth and is very satisfying to master without losing its scare factor. The game itself clearly takes a lot of inspiration from Resident Evil and Silent Hill series, and successfully creates a very scary and even to an extent Lovecraftian experience. I really recommend Labyrinth of the Demon King to anyone that likes horror but is looking for something different than all those games in which you have to always run away, which can get repetitive. I also recommend it to people who like combat games, because that aspect is really good too. There are a lot of creative and horrifying ideas that I have not mentioned to not make the video drag too long, but do tell me if you'd be interested in seeing them. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been WellFell. See you next time.